So how are you?
Well, terrible. Thanks for asking, to quote a podcast. So, my dear friend Esther, who's part of my, old lady supper club we do every week, she suddenly passed away yesterday. I mean, we knew she was sick, but she's been sick many times. Like she's had cancer 4 times previous and beat all 4 of them. This one she couldn't beat it. But the problem was she didn't tell us. Like she didn't tell us the truth, right? I knew they found a mass, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to go see my oncologist. They're not even sure it's cancer." Or maybe I said that, in all fairness, trying to be optimistic. But then for some reason her sister, so I had to go over there and sit with her one day between family shifts. So she was fine. As a matter of fact, Wednesday we went and had dinner with supper club the Wednesday before, and she was in pain. And then by Saturday she was in too much pain and they took her to the emergency room. So this was last Saturday, a week ago. And then that's when they found a mass on her liver. But she'd had like a kidney infection, which is what the pain was from, we thought. So they had her on antibiotics, and then they said, now you got to go see your oncologist. So between last Saturday and yesterday, obviously, the truth came out. And I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know that the last thing that her and the doctor talked about, and this was on Friday, so 2 days ago, was he's like hospice or an alternative directive or something like that, or whatever they're called. And you have 2 to 6 weeks to live. That's what he told her. And she said, no, I'm going to fight it. I'm going to fight. And then 24 hours later, she was gone. So, and here's the topic. If I can make it through. And it's not about me, right? It's not about any of us that are left, but we are left. And I get that she didn't want people to worry. I guess I get that.
Yeah.
But you robbed us of a lot of things. And I don't mean it in a bad way, because again, it's not about me. But I mean, and I wouldn't have, I don't know that I would have said goodbye, because I'm not good at that. And I'm so thankful. The last thing I said to her, because I talked to her on Friday, and she was really out of it, which I thought was weird, right? Like, what's going on? Then I found out she was on fentanyl, which I guess should have been one sign to me, but it wasn't, because what do I know about fentanyl other than it kills people if you don't,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
also a legitimate painkiller. And come to find out, it's probably taking over morphine's job of pain at the end of life. But so we were talking, and she was just saying some funny, crazy things that I was just like, that doesn't make any sense, right? I was like, so instead of, I wasn't going to argue with her, I wasn't going to correct her. Like, what do I mean, like she was getting an infusion. So I just said, Esther, I love you. And then she said, I love you too. And then we hung up, and that was the last thing I said to her. And I'm thankful that was it. Because it could have gone a million other ways, right?
Yeah. Could have.
So I'm glad I got that opportunity, but I'm bummed out that that was the only opportunity I had, right? But again, it's not about me. So I'm in a weird place, but I wanted to record this because I thought that is life, right?
Yeah.
We're often in a weird place. So your hair is still straight. Did you straighten it again?
I just haven't washed it.
That's please. You know you're not supposed to wash your hair that often.
Oh, I know, and I don't.
Yeah. And it looks great, so who cares, right?
I think it's at the point today where it's like, I'm gonna have to, people are gonna start running from me.
Right. You're sort of clean, right?
Kind
So, I
of.
mean, you know,
Oh, Sherry, I'm so sorry about your friend, about Esther.
it's just, I guess I just wish a lot of things. However, I did learn what I'm now calling the most important lesson in life. And it's a good one. It's a good one, but it's a hard one. And that is, I'm upset because I didn't get the opportunity, to make sure I had said all of the things that I wanted to say, right? Like, so glad you came into my life. So blessed that I met you. Even the thing, like Esther made me pray before every meal. I don't do that, right?
Yeah.
I pray all the time, randomly, right? Like that. It's so weird that I do. So it drives me crazy when people want to do like legitimate bow your head, fold your hands, and let's pray over the meal. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not praying over a meal, but I did it for Esther. Because you do things for people that you like, right?
Yeah, of
They're your
course.
friends and you do it, right? But still, there's just like still some things I'm like, God, I wish I would have done this or said. And then I realized, shame on me for realizing it after the fact. Like, my mantra is, shouldn't I have been doing that all along? I should have been doing it all along. And so it was an excellent, very, very painful lesson, but great lesson to learn. So I am going to be doing that all along. And that's what Build Up or Shut Up is about, really, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, wow.
Wow. So
So,
now, well, and you're going to be going through those 7 stages of grief.
oh yeah. And I actually already have like 3 times, and I'll be doing it 3 more times in excess. It is what it is.
Yeah. And it's not linear, right? It's not like you go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. It's like it fluctuates and
Yeah. And then, thank heavens that the Supper Club doesn't listen to this. I'm the youngest by far, right? I'm 20 years younger than the next youngest person.
wow.
And they all live in the same senior living condo, right? I can't imagine what it's overwhelming for them. You know what I mean?
Of course. I mean, I was talking to my mom a couple weeks ago because a really good friend of our family's passed suddenly, had a heart attack. And I mean, in good shape, like no reason that he should have, but he just did. He had a heart attack and like his lawn, like doing, being outside in his garden. And she said, now I'm starting to understand how my mom felt.
Yeah.
Because her mom would talk about all of her friends dying. And she's like, I'm at that age now. Because my mom had a lot of people. I mean, one, she worked in the HIV/AIDS prevention world. So a lot of people that she worked with were HIV positive. So there was a lot of people that passed because of that. So she lived through that epidemic, in the 80s and 90s. And even into the early 2000s before the drugs really got better. And now people can live a lot longer. But then during COVID, we forget that people that are of a certain age and all their friends are that age, they're more vulnerable.
Yeah,
And a lot of people that she knew who passed from COVID.
yeah.
And
Esther's brother passed from COVID.
yeah. And I think it's an understandable certain level of, I don't know if fear is the right word, but it has to be front and center. That like, yeah, I'm possibly next. I mean, it's even interesting when you look at generations, right? Like it's like when you're young, you have grandparents and your parents, and then you, and then as your grandparents pass, then it's your parents that are the next, and then it's like, holy shit,
I'm next. Yeah.
like I'm next in line. And it's a really shaky experience, but it's the human experience. We all go through it. I
Yeah.
mean, I always remember this guy, Chuck. I used to work with Chuck RT. He was like,
I know Chuck RT.
yes, he was like my mentor. Like,
I met him through you.
I love Chuck. Like, Chuck was just great. I mean, he had his flaws. He was definitely a flawed human being, but he was really, really great. And I remember one thing he said to me, and I was like 25 or 26 at the time. And, he was a very wealthy guy, had done very well in life. And I remember him saying to me once, the one thing I can't buy that you have is youth. He's like, enjoy it. He's like, and he would always kind of throw these nuggets out. He'd be like, enjoy every moment because at one point you're going to be my age and you don't want to have any regrets.
Mm-hmm. But you know what I have learned, and it has been recently, and when I say recently, I literally mean within the last 2 weeks, is that I should be and am able to enjoy all times of my life.
Mhm.
Some of it takes a little more focus, right? So, I'm out of work. I just lost a dear friend. I'm in a very difficult time in my life, technically, right? I mean, like on paper, and yet I have this weird peace about it because I know it's just part of life, right? It's just the cycle, and I can rail and fight against the cycle. And when I was younger, I did, which is why Chuck's advice is very good. But now I I kind of view it as waves, right? The waves, and they wash over me and they push me backwards, and sometimes they shove me into the sand, but the sand is soft and warm. Right?
Yes.
And then it comes off and I'm ready to go again. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this moment in
Yeah.
my life, which I don't know that I would have been able to do when I was young. Because when you're young, we haven't learned that yet.
No.
Right?
No.
And now it's like, and that's why I call the girls the roses collectively, because they do remind me to slow down and because they bring me joy. I mean, I'm that person. I'm that crazy cat lady. These goddamn cats bring me joy. So I take a second and I pet them, and I actually feel them. I know it's weird, right? Like this kind of crazy, but I mean, they're soft and they're fluffy and they're gentle and they love me. And there's that moment where you're just like, yeah, this is joy. That's it. And then I start the day, or I do whatever it is I was doing, and I'm like, but there's those moments in there,
Yeah.
and there's some regret. Sure. It's funny, I joked about, prior to my dad passing away, I used to say I have no regrets. Oh, I used to say I had 2 regrets. I don't remember the first one, but the second one, oh no, I do remember. They're both the same. My 2 regrets were I never saw Queen live, and I never saw Journey with Steve Perry, right? Those were my 2 regrets. So then my dad died. And then the list changed drastically.
Yeah.
And then that's why this was also like an eye-opener, is my regret was that I didn't say, I mean, I did tell Esther I loved her, but I don't know that I articulated eloquently that I was happy she was in my life. Right?
You don't think he knows that, but you wish you had said it.
I wish I'd said it. I think I acted like it, sure. And
Mhm.
that's great. But in the effort to do what I think I've been put on this planet to do, right? And I am like, I'm way ahead of the game for a lot of people because I think I've figured out my purpose. It is not spectacular. It is not, you know, life-changing, but it's my purpose, right? And so in order to make that happen, I want to remember to tell people that they're important to me. And because we go through life not connecting a lot of times, and I want to connect. I want to connect mentally and sometimes physically. I like to give hugs. I'm a hugger. So I learned it, and it just was reiterated. So now I have these other 3 women. Well, there's 4 women now because Linda's daughter joins us, and she's younger than me. So now she's like almost, no, I guess she's only like 15 years younger than me. So, but still, because I'm old, I keep forgetting. I'm over 50 something compared to. So she's 30 something, I'm 50 something, and then we have 70 plus.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded that I'm going to tell those women. I mean, like it's women, right? And I'm learning a lot of things, and I'm going to tell them how much I appreciate them. That's all. I'm just going to focus on it.
Yeah.
What else can I do?
Well, I think, yes, I mean, tell them. And what is the saying? I mean, actions speak louder than words.
That is
And
true.
you can tell someone all day long that you care about them, but if those actions don't align, and I feel like your actions of kindness and love
Yeah.
speak volumes.
You're probably right. And that's, you know what? This is why we have these fucking conversations, Rita. I was like, oh yeah, maybe she did know. That's great. Thank you for that.
100%. There's no question.
But I value people in general. I even am learning how much I value people I don't particularly want to be near,
Mm.
because I learn things from them.